This is a best of edition of America Outdoors Radio.
Welcome to the Pacific Northwest edition of America Outdoors Radio. We've got a fast-paced hour of fishing, hunting, and conservation covering the nation and the Northwest, including 13 extra minutes of local content you'll only hear on Seattle's sports radio, KJR.
It's Saturday morning, and I'm glad you're here because, once again, we've got two great local guests for you. This time, we're going to be talking to Bob Loomis with Max Lure at the bottom of the hour. He's going to share a unique drift fishing method with you that'll get you into some small river summer steelhead. You've just got to try this. I think it's going to work great. And staying with summer steelhead, Mark Bush, the owner of Twisted Waters Guide Service, will join us at the end of the hour to talk about how he's catching summer steelhead on the Cowlitz and catching quite a few of them. Now, if you need steelhead gear, the place to go to, Sportsman's Warehouse. There's 4 of these great stores located in the Puget Sound area. You'll find them in Everett, Silverdale, Federal Way, and Puyallup, and they've got all the steelhead and fishing gear you need, and with hunting season here as well, they will cover that for you too. They really are America's premier outfitter. Go down to one of their stores this weekend and see what's in stock. And now, it's time to tell you what's hot this week in the Pacific Northwest. And normally, for me this week, what's hot is fishing in the Columbia River Gorge. It's something I've done every year in mid-September for 16 years, camping and fishing at a little event called Fish Camp that unfortunately got canceled this year. But that doesn't mean you can't go down there and enjoy some great fishing. If you're wondering where to go, here's a few suggestions based on 16 years of mid-September fishing. Number 1, if you've got a boat, you've got to fish off the mouth of the Klickitat or the Deschutes for Chinook salmon. It's always good right now, and hover fishing seems to be the best way to catch them, fishing those eggs just right off the bottom. Chinook salmon and summer steelhead fishing can also be quite good on the Deschutes and the Klickitat rivers. The morning bite for both is not only good, but you can catch these fish using spinners, spoons, or flies, though if you are fishing the Deschutes, it's a big river. You'll probably want to use a spey rod to get some added distance to your casts. Smallmouth bass fishing on the Columbia from the Dalles all the way to Roosevelt can be excellent, and personally, I love fishing around Miller Island below the Highway 97 bridge and around the mouth of the John Day River. If you don't have a boat, try fishing below the John Day Dam. I had good luck on the Oregon side at Giles French Park earlier this summer, fishing current seams and catching a bunch of smallies in the process. If you want to go after sturgeon, to include some very big ones up to 11 feet long, you can catch them below Bonneville Dam, but try below John Day Dam. This is actually an excellent place to catch them this time of year. It is catch and release there, but it sure is a lot of fun. And if all else fails, there's always northern pike minnow, especially if you need a little pocket money. The northern pike minnow sport reward fishery season runs through September 30th. You can find out more about making money catching these fish by going to pikeminnow.org. If you're looking for a place to stay while you're in the gorge, I've always loved the Peach Beach RV Park, which sits right on the Columbia River, a short distance off of US 97. Or you can just go to the Dalles Area Chamber of Commerce website and find all sorts of places to stay and some great places to eat in the area too. As for fishing tackle and intel on where the fish are biting, I always stop at Gorge Outfitter Supply in Rufus, Oregon, and I always talk to the owner, Wendy Boyer, because she knows her stuff. So settle on in as we bring you a best of national show, but more fresh content from the Pacific Northwest.
That's your first local shot of the outdoors. Now let's see what's going on across the nation.
Come explore the Dalles in Oregon for outdoors fun. Hike amongst the wildflowers, bike our riverfront trail, or visit the Gorge Discovery Center where you can enjoy a live raptor display, or even check out our National Neon Sign Museum. But don't forget the fishing. We've got salmon, steelhead, bass, walleye, and monster-sized sturgeon waiting just for you. When the day is done, tell those tall tales at one of our wineries, breweries, or restaurants and plan your next adventure. Find out more at explorethedalles.com.
Pheasants Forever is working hard every day to ensure there's more wildlife habitat for the future. To join us, go to pheasantsforever.org.
This is a special best of edition of America Outdoors Radio.
It's time for America Outdoors Radio, the show that covers the outdoor scene across the U.S. of A. and the entire continent. Fishing, hunting, conservation, outdoor recreation, and great destinations. We cover it all every week. It's your country, your outdoors. Let's explore it together with your host, John Kruse.
What an adventure. That's a good way to sum up my 2,600-mile road trip to and from Aberdeen, South Dakota last week, where I went pheasant hunting. I know what you're thinking. That's a long ways to go for a few roosters, but trust me, the trip was worth it. It was put together by the fine folks at Pheasants Forever and hosted by the Aberdeen Area Convention and Visitors Bureau. The hunters included Jared Wickland and Anthony Houck from Pheasants Forever, along with their great dogs, and Casey Wisemantle, the executive director of the local CVB, who, by the way, is a crack shot. Also hunting the prairies of South Dakota with us was Emmett Lenahan and Matt Morlock, as well as several members of the outdoors industry and media, to include Andrew McKean, the editor-at-large for Outdoor Life magazine, Matt Soberg, editor of several publications to include Covey Rise magazine, Paul Smith, the outdoors editor for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, and Tom Hansen, the wing shooting product manager for Orvis. I saw more pheasant in 2 days that I've seen in the last 10 years in my home state of Washington. And during our walks amongst the prairie grass, sorghum, and cornrows, we jumped all sorts of other wildlife too, including an astounding number of white-tailed deer, which included a whole bunch of healthy-looking bucks with some decent racks. It was not only a great hunting experience, but a wonderful learning experience too, about the importance of pheasant hunting to the South Dakota state economy, how farming and conservation practices can improve pheasant hunting and habitat, and how much fun it is to hunt both public and private lands for ringnecks. This week on the show, we'll be talking to 4 of the people we hunted with in South Dakota. We'll start off with Casey Wisemantle, who will orient you to the pheasant hunting around here and explain just how much this means to the local and state economy. From there, we'll hunt some of the many publicly accessible lands around Aberdeen, and Jared Wickland with Pheasants Forever will share that experience with you. From public lands, we'll head to a private farm and ranch where Eric Johansson, co-owner of Johansson Farms Outfitting, will take us out for an unbelievable afternoon hunt where we'll see hundreds of pheasant and shoot a few of those too. Eric will explain how he and his family turned their farm and ranch into the magnificent pheasant and wildlife habitat that we got to enjoy during our visit, where we hunted nothing but wild birds. That's right, a private operation with no planted birds. Every one of these roosters and hens that we saw, they were flying wild because they were wild. Finally, we'll talk to Matt Morlock, the man in charge when it comes to Pheasants Forever in South Dakota. Matt's going to tell you about how some of the grazing and farming practices implemented by the Johanssons, along with enrollment of land into the Federal Conservation Reserve Program, are paying huge dividends for pheasant, wildlife, hunters, and businesses in the area. Better still, Matt will let you know how you can do some of these things in your state too, which will benefit all of the above. And now it's time to take you to Aberdeen, South Dakota, where we are pheasant hunting, and boy, what a pheasant hunting trip we're going to share with you today. With us here to tell you more about it is Casey Wisemantle. He is the executive director of the Aberdeen Area Convention and Visitors Bureau. He's been our host, and Casey, it's been one heck of a ride. Thanks for a great experience.
It's been great having you guys out here. You are exactly right. It's been a great experience. We couldn't ask for anything more.
Well, I'll tell you what, I have fallen in love with Aberdeen. I have fallen in love with South Dakota pheasant hunting. Folks, if it's not on your bucket list and you're a pheasant hunter, you are missing out. You have got to come here. Let's tell folks how popular this place is. I mean, you've got 1,000 hotel rooms, give or take, in town, and you've got about 28,000 people in this town. How many of them are booked up for pheasant hunting season?
We're booked solid. Believe it or not, we are. Pheasant opener is the third Saturday in October, traditionally, and it goes through the end of December. And for that first month, the hotels are booked solid. And it's not only the hunters that are here, it's the hunters and their dogs. Every hotel allows dogs. You have to have that. That's a prerequisite in Aberdeen. But they're booked solid for that first month. Right around Thanksgiving, kind of tapers off a little bit, obviously because of the holiday. But then it picks back up for that late season pheasant hunting. And that's the biggest thing that we try to push, is that late season pheasant hunting. You don't have to be here for pheasant opener. As you saw today, there are plenty of birds to be had. And pushing that late season pheasant hunting, you have the run of the place all to yourself. And that's where we see that uptick after Thanksgiving.
I want to talk a little bit about Aberdeen itself and the people here, because we're staying at the Best Western Ramkota Hotel, and folks, it's a great hotel to stay at. It's clean, the rooms are spacious, great breakfast in the morning, hot breakfast. There's a restaurant that serves great food in the evening. There's a little bar there too, and there's an indoor pool if you're bringing the kids. There's a hot tub if you want to enjoy that. And oh, by the way, the customer service. I absolutely love the people here, and every morning when you're on your way out to hunting, they are going to tell you, good luck on your hunt today. I mean, Hunt Aberdeen's kind of the slogan around here, and you're going to find it all over town. People see you're a hunter. They want you to have a good time. They want you to have success, and they mean it. I've never seen such a hunter-friendly town as Aberdeen, South Dakota.
You're exactly right. That's the biggest thing we pride ourselves on, is our hospitality and our customer service, because we see those hunters that have been coming back year after year, 10, 15, 20 plus years. They're bringing that second, third generation with them to allow them to experience what they've been allowed to enjoy. But you're right, this morning, the gal at the Best Western Ramkota, she was a little mad because she didn't get to see the hunting dogs before we left. She's like, tell those guys to bring their dogs in. I want to pet their dogs. And I'm like, we'll be back later. You can pet them then. But you're exactly right. We are very accommodating. We have to be, because our philosophy is you can go anywhere in South Dakota and have a great time pheasant hunting. We just want you to come to Aberdeen.
Well, and there's a really good reason to come to Aberdeen, and that's because of how much public access is available in the county that Aberdeen is located. I mean, there is tons of public access, as we found out the first day that we were hunting with you.
You're exactly right. Typically, it's kind of a little hidden secret where we're at. Aberdeen is located in Brown County, and Brown County is the third largest, population-wise, the third largest county in the state of South Dakota. But as far as birds harvested go, there's only 4 places that harvest more birds than Brown County itself. And that's South Dakota as a whole, North Dakota as a whole, Minnesota as a whole, and Iowa as a whole, and then there's Brown County. So if you're looking for the spot to go to whittle it down, if you want me to whittle it down for you, you got to come to Aberdeen. There's no other way around it.
Based on all the wild birds we have seen the last 2 days, I couldn't agree more. Let's talk a little bit about limits. What's the daily bag limit, and what's the possession limit for hunters?
3 rooster pheasants a day, and you can possess up to a 5-day limit. So you could have 15 birds in your possession. But keep in mind, if you only hunt 2 days, you can only have 6 birds. Makes sense.
Right.
But yeah, 3-day limit and up to a 5-day possession limit, 15.
And one other thing that's kind of unusual here that you don't see in all the other states is there's a start time. So early in the season, you don't even get to start pheasant hunting till noon, and then it changes.
We call it a gentleman's hunt. Gives you a little bit of time to enjoy that hospitality in the evening prior, to go out and have partake in the festivities and experience what Aberdeen really has to offer. But you're right. The first 2 weeks, it starts at noon and it goes till sundown. And then right around that daylight savings time, it switches to 10 in the morning until sundown. And as you saw today, we didn't start hunting until 1 o'clock.
Right.
And look at the success we had. I mean, to be able to start at noon, let alone 10 o'clock in the morning, that's plenty enough time to go bag some birds.
It is. And you're absolutely right, too, about Aberdeen having a lot to offer. Go to the downtown district, folks. There's some great restaurants. There's some great places to hang out. The Brass Kettle was a big hit. We had some fantastic food there. Again, wonderful customer service. Unfortunately, I could go on and on and on because, like I said, I've fallen in love with the place, but we got to go. So before we do, let's tell people how they can find out more about Aberdeen, South Dakota, the hunting they have to offer, and book a stay here and plan a trip.
You said it the best. I couldn't agree more. The best selling point we have in Aberdeen is the word of mouth, everybody passing it on. To experience what we have to offer, we have 2 websites and we have 2 Facebook pages, both of them the same. Visit AberdeenSD.com is our website and Facebook page, and then HuntFishSD.com is our website and Facebook page. And that Hunt Fish is geared directly to those sportsmen. We call it, quote unquote, our one-stop shop for everything you need to do to plan that successful trip, whether it's with a guide or an outfitter, whether it's public hunting on your own or possibly a preserve. Everything is on that website. It's our one-stop resource to plan that trip.
Well, this is a hunting and fishing show, so we are going to huntfishsd.com. That's huntfishsd.com. And, folks, I know I'm coming back. I'm going to be hitting that website as soon as I get back home so I can plan my next trip. And if you're smart, you'll start planning yours right now. Casey, thanks again for a wonderful experience and for sharing it with us on America Outdoors Radio.
Thanks for having us. We appreciate it.
Ready to step up to a quality-built rifle or shotgun that's a true classic? Check out Henry Repeating Arms, American-made. There's over 200 models to choose from in a variety of finishes and calibers for hunters and target shooters. Many of these are lever-action models with a look right out of the Old West. Don't be deceived, though. Henry Repeating Arms are modern, rugged, accurate, reliable, and have a lifetime guarantee. Find out more and order a free catalog today at henryusa.com. That's henryusa.com.
Hunting and fishing are exercises in hope. Before you head into the woods, you hope to tag out on a deer you'll have to field dress. Before you make that first cast, you hope for a big fish to clean and fillet. When your hopes are realized, you'll need a sharp knife. Whether you sharpen that blade on a power sharpener in the shop or a manual sharpener in the field, Work Sharp has the tool for you. Look for Work Sharp products in sporting goods stores near you or online at worksharptools.com.
Fishing and fun. That's what you'll find at Mardon Resort. Come to sunny eastern Washington and bring your RV or rent a cottage, cabin, or room at our newly upgraded resort at the south end of Potholes Reservoir. Get tackle and provisions at our general store. And after you're done fishing, hanging out at our swim beach, or boating for the day, enjoy dinner and a drink at the beach house. Find out more at MardonResort.com. That's MardonResort.com, where the fish bite and we don't.
The Tillamook Coast isn't just about fishing. It's about clamming and crabbing, too. Drop a crab pot into Tillamook Bay or a crab ring off the dock and haul in a bounty of fresh, Dungeness crab. You can also head to one of our many bays during low tide to gather a dinner of bay clams that will taste great steamed or in chowder. Find out more about these year-round activities and plan your visit today at TillamookCoast.com. That's TillamookCoast.com, Oregon's best bay clamming and crabbing.
Are you an outfitter, sporting goods retailer, boat dealer, or someone else in the outdoors industry? If you are, you know targeted advertising works best, and what would work better than advertising with America Outdoors Radio? Our hour-long show is heard throughout Seattle, Everett, and the East Side every Saturday morning, and your message will be heard there too. Better still, our rates are way more affordable than you think. Want to find out more? Contact me, John Kruse, through my website at AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. That's America Outdoors Radio, bringing you more business.
Sportsman's Warehouse is America's premier outfitter, and with over 90 locations, you're sure to find a store near you full of the gear you need to succeed this hunting season. Firearms, ammo, archery equipment, decoys, clothing, boots, and more. You'll find it all at Sportsman's Warehouse. Better still, the knowledgeable staff can help you with tips and frequent in-store seminars, all designed to help you bag a trophy or a limit this hunting season. Find a location near you or shop online today at sportsmanswarehouse.com.
Welcome back to America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Kruse. We continue to broadcast from Aberdeen, South Dakota. That's where we're hunting with a group from Pheasants Forever. And with us today to wrap up day one of our hunting on public land and public access lands is Jared Wicklund with Pheasants Forever. Jared, thanks for a great day in the field.
Yeah, how are your legs doing? Mine are a little bit tired still, but we saw a lot of birds today, so that was a good start.
We saw a lot of birds, and me being about 20 years older than you, my legs are probably a little more tired than yours. What are you thinking? We walked 8-9 miles today?
We walked probably 8 to 9 miles, saw a couple hundred birds, but it's late season hunting here in South Dakota. Those birds are jumpy, they're really wily. Without any snow on the ground, they tend to run, and they're concentrated in certain areas of heavy cover next to a food source. And I think we found that out really quick after searching for a few fields, struck out a few times, and then we started focusing on cattails with heavy grass cover, and that's where they were.
Oh, they sure were. And I actually really enjoyed the day. I mean, we ended up knocking down 8 birds. Dogs found 7 of them. Unfortunately, mine was the one that was not found because it ran a long, long ways and was never seen again. But, it was a ton of fun. And I think the star of the show was the habitat and the fact that this habitat really works for growing lots and lots of wild pheasants here in South Dakota. This prairie grass and the different types of grasses and the cattails and the cover it all allows is just a recipe for success. How do farmers afford to go ahead and keep their fields in these conditions? Because they're not growing crops to do so.
Yep, so you hit the nail on the head there, and that habitat is really the key to the pheasant populations that they have here in the pheasant capital. We work exclusively with landowners to try to sign up more acres through their South Dakota's walk-in access program. And specifically, some of the areas we were hunting today were enrolled in the Aberdeen Pheasant Coalition properties. And those are properties that Pheasants Forever uses chapter money and money from businesses that are supported by pheasant hunters here in Aberdeen, South Dakota, and that money is used as an incentive to sign up new conservation reserve program acres that pay landowners to take their land out of production for wildlife habitat, and also sign them up as walk-in access acres. So it's kind of a dual access and habitat program that really pays benefits. In the first couple fields we walk, the Aberdeen Pheasant Coalition properties are ideally suited to hatching pheasants. A lot of forbs, wheatgrass. So once we get some really heavy snows, the birds tend to move out of those areas seeking more thermal cover. So, and we found that today. We shot a couple birds on Aberdeen Pheasant Coalition properties, and after that we focused on CREP, or Conservation Reserve Enhancement Program, that basically protects water quality. So a lot of cattails, a lot of heavy cover next to cornfields, and that seemed to be the recipe for success. But private landowners play a major role in pheasant populations, not just here in South Dakota, but all throughout the United States and pheasant range. Because if you look at the amount of private land ownership in a lot of these big pheasant states, we can't do it without private landowners. And tomorrow, I guess, we're headed to Eric Johansson's farm, Johansson Family Farms, and we're going to take a look at the recipe for success on private lands about hatching pheasants and why it's so important to have private landowners backing us for public side of things.
You're listening to America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Kruse. We're talking to Jared Wicklund with Pheasants Forever about a great hunt that we've enjoyed today around Aberdeen, South Dakota. Getting back to these public access lands, I think it's important for people to know that there's a lot of land out there. And a couple things that stood out for me was the fact that these were all wild birds that we were hunting. We saw a couple hundred wild birds, definitely not all within range because they are wily wild birds and they know how to run at this time of year. But there's just lots of room to roam. And, we didn't even see another hunter. I mean, there was no competition at all for us. I know that's not the way it is the first couple weeks of the year, but you do a late season pheasant hunt out here, you've got lots of fields to choose from with lots of pheasant in them.
Yep, they say about 75% of the hunting that's done, whether it's South Dakota or any of the other pheasant states, is done in the first 3 to 4 weeks of the season. And after that, you do have a lot of areas to roam. And Brown County, right here in the Aberdeen region, this is Brown County, South Dakota, is really known as the pheasant capital for the amount of public land they have. Per capita or per acre, square mile, they have more public land here in Brown County, South Dakota than anywhere in the rest of the pheasant capital here. So there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of wild birds. It's moving around and finding those pockets where the birds haven't been disturbed. But you're right. I saw 2 other hunters all day, and that was driving in a truck on one of the highways. And we never ran into anybody else. We didn't run into any tracks, in a little bit of snow that was at the parking area. So it just goes to show that late season and hunting in South Dakota can be really good. We've got a bigger group today. We made a little noise. As you saw, we had hundreds of wild pheasants ahead of us bailing out, and we're trying to get after them. We got a few of them later in the day at kind of a last-ditch effort. But, by and large, there are a lot of birds left here in South Dakota, and with a average winter and some good spring weather, we're hoping for another great increase next year in the pheasant capital.
So one other thing I want to broach here, Jared, is pen release birds. I mean, in a state that is literally flush, pun intended, folks, with wild pheasants, why are there pen raised birds that people are hunting in South Dakota?
You do have big operations here, big lodges, big outfitters that bring in corporate groups, a lot larger groups. I mean, I'm talking 15 to 25 people at a time. And those with preserve status, they like to put birds out there, especially in a down year too. When they put birds out, it gives people, still a target-rich environment. But by and large, South Dakota Game Fish and Parks keeps track of all those. The numbers of pen-raised birds that are put out in the landscape are separated out from the wild bird harvest. It's on South Dakota Game Fish and Parks website. So don't be misled. This is basically an all wild bird state, and people talk about people releasing pheasants and whatnot. That's just for the preserves and people that
choose to have that experience over the public access, public lands, wild bird experience, which frankly you're going to work harder for.
Exactly. Anybody with a preserve status, they're going to release a few birds, but by and large, this is a wild bird state, and we saw that today. And when we're walking through a CRP area, we're walking through one of these Aberdeen Coalition properties, and we look ahead and you see 100 to 200 birds boiling out. Those aren't pen raised birds. Those are wild. Those are wild raised South Dakota pheasants, and we saw that today. And just driving around. And, especially late in the evening when we started our last hunt, I mean, wow, you just you look at the fields around there, and there's pheasants everywhere. Yep. And when we drive up and you slow down just a little bit, those birds are taking off and they're flying towards cover because they're just as wily as any other state. So it was a great experience. We saw a lot of birds, and this really is a upland hunter's paradise, especially late season. You can have a really good hunt here in South Dakota late season.
I agree completely, folks. We've got lots more of South Dakota pheasant hunting coming your way during this show. But if you want to find out more now, South Dakota and Aberdeen have both done a great job of putting together pamphlets, brochures, and information for you. Just Google Aberdeen, South Dakota. Just Google South Dakota Game Fish and Parks. And definitely go to pheasantsforever.org. You'll find all sorts of information about hunting in this great state. And if you haven't done so yet, make plans to do so, because this really is the capital, the Mecca, the Shangri-La, the place to be for pheasant hunting in the United States. Jared, looking forward to another great hunt with you tomorrow.
Thanks for coming out. We're going to have a great time at Johansson Farms tomorrow and looking at the private side, and we're going to see plenty of public land roosters along the drive.
Come explore the Dalles in Oregon for outdoors fun. Hike amongst the wildflowers, bike our riverfront trail, or visit the Gorge Discovery Center where you can enjoy a live raptor display, or even check out our National Neon Sign Museum. But don't forget the fishing. We've got salmon, steelhead, bass, walleye, and monster-sized sturgeon waiting just for you. When the day is done, tell those tall tales at one of our wineries, breweries, or restaurants and plan your next adventure. Find out more at explorethedalles.com.
Why book at Sportsman's Cove Lodge?
Why is Alaska like no other place on Earth? It hasn't changed in thousands of years.
From the way you get here on a float plane to the way you go out with the guides and the boats, it's just a professional experience.
And I said, this is as good as it gets. I said, if you can't catch fish here, you can't catch fish anywhere.
Your experience with us will leave you speechless.
Book now at alaskasbestlodge.com.
Want to put a smile on your face? Start off by putting a Smile Blade from Max Lure Company on your line. Max Smile Blades come in different sizes and spin at slow speeds, not like those metal blades on other lures. Buy them separately or on ready-made rigs like the wedding ring spinner, double whammy, lollipop, and more. Smile blades work for trout, bass, walleye, as well as other species, and when that fish hits, you'll have a grin on your face that won't go away. The Smile Blade, only from Max Lure Company.
Ready for more local fishing and hunting? You got it. It's the Pacific Northwest edition of America Outdoors Radio, right here on Seattle's Sports Radio 950 KJR.
You know what time it is? It's time for another Extended Max Minute, brought to you by Max Lure, and with us again is Bob Loomis. Bob, got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Let's talk steelhead fishing today, but I want to talk Eastern Washington steelhead fishing, and I want to talk about fishing on rivers like the Grand Ronde and the Tucannon and the Touche and the Walla Walla. They are all worth fishing. If you're going to fish these smaller streams for steelhead, these are summer steelhead, in the fall, how are you going to do it?
You know, fishing for summer runs is one of those things that's kind of near and dear to my heart. I love it. Spending as much time as I did in southeast or southwestern Washington, and you know that is something that I really gear up for. And over here, it's a little bit different fishery. You know, a lot of people like to fish jigs. A lot of people like to fish different styles of fishing. I personally like to fish with a smile blade and a pill float. I can get different colors that you can't get with jigs. You know, attraction is a big thing for steelhead versus scent, where you're geared towards salmon. So those colors, by putting different colors of smile blades, pill floats, things of that nature, where I can get a good natural flow to my gear, I can drift the bottom and still do a fantastic job of getting them to want to bite.
So are we talking like pencil lead here, or a slinky weight that you're using, and then just having that smile blade and that float a little bit up from there on a leader?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Is what you're doing is you're bouncing the bottom. You're drifting a little bit differently than fishing the way everybody else is with jigs and floats. And, you know, let's face it, the rock dancer works fantastic, but I like fishing the bottom. I want to be able to be right in the fish's face, and I want to get them to want to bite that lure going through. And the smile blade and pill float are a great way to do it.
All right. Well, get yourself a nice stout hook and a pill float and a smile blade from Max Lure. Experiment with the colors. They're going to work at the stream near you, and give it a go. You might be out fishing the competition. You're listening to a special Best Of edition of America Outdoors Radio. You're back with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Kruse, and I'll tell you what, I just experienced the best day of pheasant hunting in my life. I'm over 50 years old. I've been on a lot of pheasant hunts, primarily in the northwestern U.S., and I've never seen as many birds as I saw today here in South Dakota. The place I was hunting was Johansson Farms. It's near the little town of Tolstoy, and with me here to tell you more about this spectacular operation is Eric Johansson. Eric, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. It was a great day.
Well, Eric, it really was a great day, and I can't thank you enough for hosting us as part of this Pheasants Forever media hunt. Several of us, members of the outdoors media, got to come out here, enjoy your hospitality. I mean, first off, you took the time to explain what you do here, and we're going to get into that in just a minute. But before we do, I want to talk about the hunting, because, I mean, this is a fantastic operation you have here with Johansson Farms Outfitting in terms of giving people a place to stay in South Dakota, feeding them meals if they want meals, and then taking them hunting in some spectacular places for guided hunts, and they're going to see hundreds and hundreds of pheasants, all wild birds. I can't think of anywhere else where you can have this opportunity for an affordable price.
Well, to say we're the only place that has this opportunity, I think would be short-sighted, but what we do is we really focus on the wild bird aspect. South Dakota is known for its pheasant hunting. We're in the type of environment, especially where we're at, in our family farming operation in the Prairie Pothole region, where when the weather cooperates and you do a few things in a farming or grazing operation for wildlife habitat, you can have just robust pheasant numbers. And being able to offer that to the truly passionate wild bird hunter is something special to us as a family, and we really enjoy doing it.
And you really do it well. And folks, it really all comes down to habitat. I mean, again, these are wild birds. This is not a preserve experience, but you have, like you said, a robust population of wild pheasant and all sorts of other game that people are going to see out here too, including a ton of white-tailed deer. Let's talk a little bit about how you made this happen, because you've got this pheasant hunting operation, but it's actually a byproduct of your daily living, which is ranching and farming, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, we're a family farm operation. We're a real, true working farm and ranch. Farm a diverse mix of crops, small grains all the way up to fall row crops, such as corn and soybeans. And then we also run a beef cow herd and, raise what we really hope and we strive every day to be some of the best beef out there for the consumer. So that's the key. By doing all the things right with the environment, maximizing our production in the area where we're at, taking care of our native prairie on our ag land using a no-till farming system that works well for us to conserve moisture because we're all dry land farming. The benefits of that, not only on the egg production side, are great, but you have another benefit that most people don't realize, and you have a lot of habitat for ground nesting birds. And in South Dakota, pheasant is the king. And we just have the type of climate, and as long as you have the habitat for them and Mother Nature cooperates a little bit, they kind of take care of themselves. So,
the habitat we were hunting today was sorghum, was corn, was, basically prairie grass, fairly high prairie grass that was out there. And it all offered good cover, especially in these colder months that we're hunting in right now. But like you explained earlier in the day, it's not what we're looking at now that makes this such a great pheasant hunting spot. It's what happens in the spring, and it's how you farm, and it's these native prairie grasses, and it's how you graze that allows basically these birds to nest, these birds to have cover, and then get to the point where we can hunt them now.
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking wild birds, it all comes down to nesting conditions and brood rearing conditions, and you have to have the habitat for them. And through our rotational graze system, when we rotational graze all our native prairie systems, limiting access to the cattle to certain areas and limiting the time and the pressure, what we're doing is we're bringing that native prairie back to the way it was when the buffalo roamed on it. We're bringing all these wildflowers and forbs back into the system that are naturally occurring, but unless you can control the grazing pressure and disrupt the grazing pressure a little bit, what you can do in a rotational grazing system, it's hard to get that back on a lot of this native prairie that maybe been overgrazed or just grazed in a wrong way for so long before people really knew the benefits to it. And you get that diverse plant species back on the grasslands. The soil in the grasslands improve because you got the symbiotic relationship between your native flowering forbs and your warm and cool season grasses. And that's great for beef production because you got more grass out there, but an added benefit is it's just phenomenal bird nesting habitat. And as long as the weather cooperates, you can just have great nesting conditions and chick survivability rates for the young birds.
Well, you're doing something really right here. And again, the opportunity to hunt wild birds to me is just so much more fulfilling than what you're going to find at a lot of preserves. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of great preserves out there. There's a lot of great lodges that, take great care to give you a great experience. But to me, the ultimate is hunting wild pheasant, and seeing as many as I did today was just an off-the-charts wonderful experience. Let's talk about what a trip with you looks like in terms of people are going to book a trip. Is it usually, 2 or 3 days of hunting and getting here and staying an extra night?
Yeah, we kind of set it up almost on an a la carte basis. So individuals and groups can decide whether they want to hunt 2 days, a 3-night stay, or 3 days. Most popular is probably 3 days of hunting, 4 nights lodging, just to make the most out of your trip if you're traveling from a long way so you can actually enjoy the experience and not feel rushed. And everything we do is obviously wild birds. It's guided with dogs or your own. And we don't mix groups. So if you come with your group of 3 to 10 people, the only people you're going to be hunting with is that group. And if you have a group of more than 6 people, 6 to 10, you're going to be the only group on the property during your hunt. And, we focus on the small group, not the big corporate stuff, which is perfectly fine, but our focus is on a little more personable experience. And so keeping that group size down to 10 or less seems to be the best way to do that.
And the other thing I really want to hammer on here is, again, there's a lot of great lodges out there where you can go hunting, folks, whether it's for ducks or pheasant or quail. But your price point doesn't break the bank. I mean, this is affordable for a working class family or just a bunch of guys who want to get together for a bucket list hunt here in South Dakota.
Yeah, and our whole purpose for starting the wild bird hunts almost 17 years ago on our family farm and ranch was to produce some income to take care of some more projects we wanted to do in our operation that's going to benefit the wildlife, not only the farming and ranching operation, but also the wildlife. So we wanted to make sure that what we were providing was affordable to your average working class man, and all they have to do is save a little bit of money throughout the year. They can come have a great hunt and do it, relatively affordable.
Here's the bottom line. This is a popular place, and they don't have a lot of room. They got one place for you to stay. You only have, as you heard, one group at a time if you've got a group of 6 or more. So you're going to want to go to their website. It's johansenfarms.com. I'm going to spell that for you. JOHANSEN farms.com. That's johansenfarms.com for Johansen Farms Outfitting. You can also find them on Facebook. Again, that's just Johansen Farms Outfitting. Look for them on Facebook or on their website. If you are looking for a great experience with a family-run business, fun guides to hunt with, great dogs to hunt with, wonderful habitat to hunt, and lots and lots and lots of wild pheasant, I don't think you're going to beat this. Again, it's johansenfarms.com for Johansen Farms Outfitting. Go ahead and check it out. Consider a trip to South Dakota. I know I plan on coming back. Thanks again for a great day in the field, Eric.
Thank you. Pleasure having you.
Why book at Sportsman's Cove Lodge?
Why is Alaska like no other place on Earth? It hasn't changed in thousands of years.
From the way you get here on a float plane to the way you go out with the guides and the boats, it's just a professional experience.
And I said, this is as good as it gets. I said, if you can't catch fish here, you can't catch fish anywhere.
Your experience with us will leave you speechless.
Book now at alaskasbestlodge.com.
Ready to step up to a quality-built rifle or shotgun that's a true classic? Check out Henry Repeating Arms, American-made. There's over 200 models to choose from in a variety of finishes and calibers for hunters and target shooters. Many of these are lever-action models with a look right out of the Old West. Don't be deceived, though. Henry Repeating Arms are modern, rugged, accurate, reliable, and have a lifetime guarantee. Find out more and order a free catalog today at henryusa.com. That's henryusa.com.
We love our children. We protect them. We guide them. We prepare them for life in the world. With all that we do from deep in our hearts, we cannot control all things. Life-threatening illnesses and disabilities affect far too many of our children each year. While we cannot change the circumstances, we can make dreams come true. Dreams to provide hope, to provide spiritual healing and strength, to provide moments of happiness and relief in the darkest of times. We can give a glimmer of light and hope in a time of darkness and despair. Join huntofalifetime.org to help make dreams come true, to provide hope for children with life-threatening illnesses and disabilities. Hunt of a Lifetime is a non-profit organization fulfilling dreams for hunting and fishing trips to youth 21 and under with life-threatening illnesses and disabilities. Visit huntofalifetime.org to learn how you can make a difference. That's huntofalifetime.org.
Hey, how'd the meeting go with Tommy's school counselor today?
Well, not exactly as planned. I think we need help.
Help? Why do we need help?
Well, I asked her about paying for college, and she said that's not something they do.
Maybe it is time to get some help. Even if Tommy just goes to state college, it's going to cost at least $25,000 a year. We'll have to rate our retirement, pay for Tommy's tuition. There's got to be a better way.
There is a better way. A way where you can pay less for college, or even receive college tuition free, regardless of your income or your student's grades. A way for you to keep your hard-earned income and savings for your future and spend less on college. while virtually eliminating the need for student loans. Get the facts about college admissions and tuition by going to tuitionprograms.org. That's tuitionprograms.org. tuitionprograms.org. Get the facts about college admissions and tuition by going to tuitionprograms.org.
Campers, adventure seekers, hunters, and foodies. No matter the lifestyle, we can all agree on one thing. Great food and great people are worth remembering. At Camp Chef, we don't just make grills. We create each product knowing that a warm meal is always better when it's shared with those we love. Learn more about Camp Chef grills, smokers, and portable cooking equipment at campchef.com. That's campchef.com for a better way to cook outdoors.
Next up on America Outdoors Radio, we're going to tie this show together to talk a little bit about pheasants and how other states can see some of the benefits that South Dakota and the people that come here are seeing. And the person we're going to talk to is Matt Morlock. He is the state coordinator for Pheasants Forever here. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited about this.
So, Matt, I want to put this in perspective. I live in Washington State, and 30 years ago, we had really good pheasant hunting. Now we don't. And I think one of the main reasons why is loss of habitat and agricultural practices. You have farmers that will cut alfalfa several times during the growing season, especially when nesting is happening. You will have the way that they're cutting be an issue as well. And I just wanted to talk about some best practices for farmers that you encourage people to do here in South Dakota that farmers all over the nation can institute to see better returns on wildlife.
Perfect. And that's a misnomenclature. A lot of times people think production agriculture, wildlife can't coexist, can't be in harmony and work together. And we're learning a lot as we go in the agricultural world, the soil health movement. And that's not the case, we find. A lot of times we can increase actually the production on the agricultural side while providing better wildlife habitat through some simple changes.
Well, let's talk about some of those simple changes. And let's start off with the simplest of all, how you cut your hay.
Yeah, and that's a no-cost way to do that. Traditionally, we like to cut alfalfa fields or hay fields, grass fields. We'll just go in a circle around the edge. It's quick, it's easy, it's efficient.
But what does that do to the birds and the wildlife that's using this area for nesting habitat and for cover?
So what it does is it keeps moving those birds especially, but deer and everything, they want to stay in the tall cover because they're threatened at that point. They're trying to keep some cover over their head. So they just keep moving in the middle more and more and congregating in the middle. If we change that pattern a little bit and just cut either back and forth from one end to another end, or, take a cut out of the middle and then work outward to the edges on both sides of the field, you're allowing that pheasant or deer or whatever it is, grouse, to move, just slowly move with the cutting ahead or the path ahead. They'll just slowly move themselves out of the end, and you won't even see them. You won't flush them. They just slowly move out of the way. And it gives them that opportunity, where with the traditional just going around the edges, they don't have that opportunity to ever get out or feel safe to get out. Then they wait till the end, and then, we know what happens at that point.
Right. No more pheasant, no more grouse, and sometimes even no more deer.
Yep.
So, again, that's a really simple thing. Timing when it comes to cutting hay, because, there is a nesting season for these birds, and a lot of times farmers will cut their hay thinking this is when I get the best money for my product, right in the middle of that nesting season. But they don't have to do that, do they?
No, you still can, some of the new varieties of alfalfa or, some of the new research on protein content and stuff like that is it hangs on longer than we think. So you can delay that hanging even like a week or couple days. It gives that chick a chance to be stronger, or that hen to hatch that chick, or that fawn to be able to get out of the way. And just delaying a few days here and there can make a big difference also. And that's, like I said, the genetics in alfalfa is changing. It's holding that forage quality a lot longer. So just some little changes in variety even can help out with that too, and allow you to get the same tonnage, get the same quality, but just not as frequent.
Eric Johansson here with Johansson Family Farms and Johansson's Farms Outfitting gave an excellent presentation about the sustainable farming they do, where they manage to take care of cattle, where they manage to take care of crops, and as a byproduct, they're producing some great habitat for pheasant and white-tailed deer and other species too. Does that translate to other states? Does that translate to other places where farmers can institute this or not?
Definitely, and in fact, where the Johanssons are at is probably one of the toughest places to do it. We don't get a lot of rainfall. We have very sandy, gravelly soils, not a lot of organic matter in it. So they're doing it in probably the hardest area to do it. It's very relatable outside of the area, and that's just it. You got to look at it as a system. You're not trying to make the most dollar in a given year. You're looking at a 10-year, and you're going to produce more. You're going to make more money over a 10-year period by switching a few things around, cover crops, building your soil health. Then you're going to make year to year, and that's, in the long term, we see it as a better way to do it, a more beneficial way, and heck, we get a lot of wildlife out of it too that way.
Something else that was really interesting to me too was rotating grazing. Instead of having static grazing where cattle are literally chewing everything to the ground and leaving nothing left, that's got huge benefits for birds and other wildlife, doesn't it?
It does. Leaving some sandy cover in those fields that are producing your livestock is just another benefit. We focus on CRP and things like that as where we produce our wildlife, but in actuality, rotational grazing and stuff makes those pasture lands also produce wildlife. But the other thing is when you're rotating and you're resting your pastures, it's building a root structure, which makes that grass and the forbs and legumes in there more sustainable in droughts, which increases your beef production also. So that's another small change you can make. You have to do a little bit more work, so you have to move the cattle, but labor-wise, there's an increase, but for as far as cost, there's really not a big increase. And you're going to get better beef production for your livestock and your pocketbook, but you're also going to get a bigger production of wildlife off that.
And better drought protection, too, for your crops. So, and you really put it well a few minutes ago when you said, a lot of farmers, they live from peaks to valleys, and you have farmers come into the game when prices are high and life is good and there's lots of rain and the crops are growing, but then when those valleys hit and those droughts, they're going away, and we're losing farmers, and we're losing farmland. But if we can find a model, like we're talking about here, for sustainable farming, you're going to keep those farmlands, you're going to have better wildlife habitat, and it's a win-win, both for the ag community and for conservationists and for hunters as well.
Right, exactly. And also Main Street, these small communities that we all love. If we can get to a sustainable, stable area or, economic model, we don't lose those small family farms and that heritage and everything that goes along with that. That heritage it's just vital to America, and we don't want to lose that.
I agree completely. We have got to go. But if farmers and people want to find out more about what we're talking about here, is Pheasants Forever a good place to start?
It is. We can link you to whether it's through our network of farm field biologists or private land staff or a commodity group. We like to look at us as that linchpin to all that, so we can get you connected wherever you need to be.
All right, so the national site is pheasantsforever.org, or if you want to really dial in and maybe even talk to Matt Morlock himself, just go to sdpheasantsforever.org. That's sdpheasantsforever.org for Pheasants Forever in South Dakota. Matt, thanks for sharing this with us today on America Outdoors Radio.
Thanks for having me.
We're running short on time, but if you want to hear this episode again, we'll have it uploaded for you in just a couple of days. 3 different platforms. You can catch us on Stitcher and Podbean. Just look for America Outdoors Radio, or go to our YouTube channel. That's Northwestern Outdoors. That's one word. And you can hear this show and segments from our sister show, Northwestern Outdoors Radio. Our thanks again go out to Jared Wickland and Anthony Hauk for the invite to participate in this grand adventure in South Dakota. I'd also like to thank the folks at the Best Western Ramkota Inn in Aberdeen, a very hunter and dog-friendly hotel with wonderful staff, a great restaurant, and a bar I'd highly recommend. The Elks Lodge in Aberdeen, as well as Jay Hill, a fabulous local chef who does wonders with pheasant, and of course, I've got to thank our gracious host, Casey Wisemantel with the Aberdeen Area Convention and Visitors Bureau. You can start planning your trip to the area by going to huntfishsd.com. I hope you learned a little about pheasant, habitat, changes in farming and grazing practices, and how combining these in your state can result in more wildlife, better hunting, and a better economy. And in case you haven't figured it out, Pheasants Forever is the leading organization when it comes to all of this. I'm a member, and I hope you'll consider joining as well. You can find out more and sign up now at pheasantsforever.org. We've got to go, but I do hope you are blessed in the days ahead, and I also hope a walk with a dog searching for some ringnecks, whether it be near Aberdeen, South Dakota, or in a field near your hometown, is in your future. Remember, it is your country and your outdoors.
Backcountry Hunters and Anglers is the voice for your public lands, waters, and wildlife. From the Canadian Yukon to the Florida Everglades, we're stepping up to conserve North America's public lands, defend our hunting and fishing traditions, and expand public access to the outdoors. Our outdoor heritage depends on sportsmen and women like you speaking up for the natural resources that sustain our way of life. Find out how you can get involved at backcountryhunters.org and become a BHA member today.
Hunting and fishing are exercises in hope. Before you head into the woods, you hope to tag out on a deer you'll have to field dress. Before you make that first cast, you hope for a big fish to clean and fillet. When your hopes are realized, you'll need a sharp knife. Whether you sharpen that blade on a power sharpener in the shop or a manual sharpener in the field, WorkSharp has the tool for you. Look for WorkSharp products in sporting goods stores near you or online at worksharptools.com.
From well-known saltwater hotspots to hidden alpine lakes, learn the latest in tips, tackle, and techniques to help you catch more fish.
It's going to be a great show.
Northwest Fishing Reports, Sundays at 5 p.m. on Q13 Fox.
Don't leave yet. We've got one more local shot of fishing and hunting to wrap up the Pacific Northwest edition of America Outdoors Radio.
For your next local shot of the outdoors, we're checking in with Mark Bush, the owner of Twisted Waters Guide Service. He's been fishing the Cowlitz for summer steelhead. Mark, how's it been so far this season?
We've had a really good summer. We've been backtrolling, one of the few boats that's actually backtrolling for steelhead, and we've been doing very well.
I'm guessing you are fishing above the I-5 bridge instead of below it?
Yes, we're up at Blue Creek.
Okay, so you're up there a ways. And most people, when they fish out of boats on the Cowlitz, they're side drifting, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Why do you prefer backtrolling?
Well, I prefer backtrolling because I can take almost anybody backtrolling. Young kids, older people that don't want to stand up, people my age that don't want to stand up all day. I prefer it also because you get that bait right in front of the fish's face, and when that rod bends down, when they hit hard.
Well, it certainly is an effective way to do it, and I know a lot of guides love to do it for just that reason, because you, as the guide, are really controlling where that bait's going to go. What kind of plugs do you like to use when you're back trolling?
We use diver and bait mostly. A Brad's standard diver with anything from coon shrimp to, you name it. We've even done earthworms before.
I'll be darned. The things you learn when you talk to guides. If folks want to book a trip with you on the Cowlitz, how should they do it? I know you've got a Facebook page, Twisted Waters Guide Service. You've got a website, too.
Yes, and you can book through the website. You can contact me over Facebook, and they can always give me a call on my personal phone as well. And one thing that I'd like to add, the cutthroat are coming in, too, and they are ferocious eaters.
Well, that is good to know.
We've been getting some really good cutthroat lately.
Are we talking 10 to 14 inchers?
Talking, I think the biggest one we've got this year is 18.
That is a very nice cutthroat indeed. All right, just another reason to hit the Cowlitz again. Just Google Twisted Waters Guide Service. Mark's website will pop up right there, or just go to his Facebook page, Twisted Waters Guide Service. Book today. Space is limited. Mark is a fun guy to fish with. You'll have a great time. Thanks as always, Mark.
Thank you.
That's all for this week, but don't worry. We'll do it all again next Saturday morning from 7 to 8, right here on Seattle's Sports Radio 950 KJR.